Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean, and it's great to be on with you. Waking up to the news that Donald Trump has had a comeback for the centuries. I think some people are going to be in full meltdown mode here this morning. Have a listen to this.
And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. We're going to fulfill that mission.
You know, producer Jake and I and many others stayed up very late last night to bring live election coverage. And we are back in the hot seat this morning and listen to this meltdown that has begun with mainstream media.
And Anderson, it is hard to think of a political comeback that is actually more significant than this one. I'm tempted to say Richard Nixon, but that really falls short of what Donald Trump has achieved.
Yeah, I mean, winning not just the electoral votes, but the popular vote as well.
They just can't seem to get it out, can they? Well, it's very fascinating. We're going to be talking about this today. Coming up at 14 past the hour, producer Jake and I are going to recap what happened last night on our 7-hour journey into the wee hours of the morning that got blocked, totally blocked by YouTube, by the way. YouTube took it down, so I thought that was very interesting. But nonetheless, it's on Rumble, it's on Facebook, it's on X, it's in other places, praise be to God. But we'll cover that at 14 past. Steve Cunningham from Sensus Fidelium is going to be on the team at 30 past the hour. We're going to get his reaction to the news, the world waking up this morning that Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States, and he's had the comeback of the century. Isn't that interesting? And could it possibly be that it was, in fact, the Catholic vote that got him there? Let's have that conversation today. So we have a lot to get to today, and I loved hanging out with everybody, especially brand new friends who came and hung out with us for 7 hours yesterday. If you're new here, share us with a friend. We'd love to have you come back. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your saint of the day.
Saint Leonard of Noblac, pray for us. Leonard was born into a noble Frankish pagan family in the late 5th century, during the reign of King Clovis. Like Clovis, Leonard was baptized a Christian by Bishop St. Remigius. He left courtly life and began to preach as a disciple of Remigius, before retiring to a monastery under the guidance of Saints Mesmin and Lier. Seeking greater solitude, Leonard then became a hermit in Noblac, occasionally preaching at nearby churches. Eventually, he established a monastery for those who sought to be his disciples. Leonard was renowned for working miracles, visiting prisoners, and freeing captives, sometimes miraculously opening shackles. Because of the abbot's holy reputation, the king even permitted Leonard to free prisoners at will, and he granted much land to the monastery. Leonard died in the mid-6th century and remained obscure for a long time, until, in the 12th century, the Crusader Prince Bohemond of Antioch attributed his release from Muslim captivity to Leonard's intercession. Leonard's popularity exploded, and churches all across Europe were dedicated to him. Leonard is hailed as a patron of prisoners, locksmiths, porters, women in labor, and against robbery and burglary, or in other words, stealing. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints and seasons. Saint Leonard of Noblac, pray for us.
And now your headline news. Epoch Times reports Republicans win control of the Senate. The Republican Party gained control of the United States Senate in the 119th Congress by winning key battleground races. Elections were scheduled for 34 seats, with 9 considered battleground races that the controlling party could reasonably lose. In these contests, GOP candidates defeated several Democrat incumbents. Republicans will now control the U.S. Senate, which has the power to approve or reject all nominations to the federal judiciary, cabinet, and sub-cabinet offices, as well as the general legislation. LifeSite News reports Florida defeats radical pro-abortion amendment in victory for pro-lifers. Praise be to God. Florida pro-lifers led by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis defeated a proposed amendment to embed a right to abortion in the state constitution on Tuesday, breaking the abortion lobby's 2-year winning streak with amendments and denying them their most desired victory yet. Amendment 4, the so-called Amendment to Limit Government Interference with Abortion, would have required abortion to be allowed for any reason before fetal viability and render post-viability bans effectively meaningless by exempting any abortion that the abortionist claims is for health reasons. For all this good news, though, there's a lot more bad news on the abortion front. States like Missouri and Arizona and others all got rid of their restrictions. That's terrible. Ground News reports protests erupt in Israel after Netanyahu fires defense minister. Thousands of Israeli protesters protested in Tel Aviv against the firing of Defense Minister Yoav Gallant amid ongoing war in Gaza and Lebanon. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed Mr. Gallant due to significant gaps and a crisis of trust affecting the war. Israeli President Isaac Herzog said that Mr. Gallant's firing was the last thing Israel needs right now, reflecting widespread concern over the decision. Those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 14, verses 25 through 33. And there went great multitudes with him. And turning, he said to them, If any man come to me, and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brother and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. And whoever doth not carry his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, having a mind to build a tower, doth not first sit down and reckon the charges that are necessary, whether he have wherewithal to finish it? Lest after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that he see begin to mock him. Saying this, man began to build and was not able to finish it. Or what king about to go to make war against another king doth not first sit down and think whether to be able with 10,000 to meet him that have 20,000 come against him? Or else, whilst the other is yet far off, sending an embassy, he desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, every one of you that doth not renounce all that he possesseth cannot be my disciple. The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. The Ignatius Catholic Study Bible would say hate, this word hate. It's a term meaning to love less. Not even the sacredness of family loyalty should outweigh our commitment to Christ, since we must be willing to abandon even close relationships to follow him. Is he your priority? Is he my priority? Do I love Jesus so much that I'm willing to abandon all other relationships in pursuit of him, let alone to maintain that relationship? I don't want to abandon those. I want those relationships too. But if those relationships prevent me from pursuing my one most important relationship with Christ, then I have to make a priority, do I not? Count the cost. Discipleship is a serious commitment. It is not about testing the waters or holding ourselves back from God. A complete surrender to Christ is necessary to complete the tasks of Christian living. All for Jesus. A Catholic commentary on Holy Scripture said, "He who wishes to imitate Jesus in his devotion to the kingdom of God must have that detachment which grows out of a complete self-surrender." There is a parallel in Matthew 10, verses 37 and 38. But Luke expresses the warning more bluntly, with that severity, which is one of the marks of the journey narrative. Our Lord appears to turn on them and say, "If you wish to follow me, that is, what I expect from you, now follow if you dare." If anyone allows wealth, family, affection, even love of life to interfere with the claims of discipleship, then such a one is not fit to be a disciple. Even the prospect of seeing oneself marching in a file of condemned men must not make the true disciple hesitate. We must give it all over. And if we hold anything back, then we are not worthy to be called disciples of Christ. The Venerable Bede would say, "But there is a difference between renouncing all things and leaving all things, for it is the way of few perfect men to leave all things, that is, to cast behind them the cares of the world. But it is the part of all the faithful to renounce all things, that is, so to hold the things of the world as by them not to be held in the world." We got to be in the world, but not of the world. We're passing through the world, not here to stay in the world. So how are you seeing your world this morning? Many this morning are waking up to harsh news and thinking, it's over. The meltdown commenceth. Is the Trump 2.0 presidency, is it going to be as bad as they say it is? Let's talk about that coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere. More to come. Coming up next. We'll be right back.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. And in the wise words of Chesty Marine, a good friend of the show, if at first you don't succeed, well, maybe skydiving is not for you. Hey, coming up at 30 past the hour, Sensus Fidelium, Steve Cunningham is going to be on the team. We're going to get his take, his reaction to the news from election coverage last night of Donald Trump. A huge comeback victory. I mean, it was pretty much a landslide. Let's just be honest. It was pretty much a landslide. Even Google has to admit that this morning. 277 electoral votes, and they're not even done counting in Nevada, Arizona. Arkansas has not been called. Michigan's not been called. And still, he has more than what he needs. So I think it's a landslide. We're going to get Steve Cunningham on the team to give us his take at 30 past the hour. Do join us for that if you can. But one of the surprises that I had waking up this morning was going on to my YouTube channel. We spent 8 hours last night. Producer Jake, myself, Dr. Anthony Stein from Return to Tradition. Eric Sammons was on the team. We had Robert Morrow. We had Michael Hitchborn. We had friend of the show, Mike Koniger, on his birthday. Nonetheless, Brent Haynes was here. It was a great show. Sam McCarthy from the Washington Stand was here. It was great. Great conversation, 8 hours long, live coverage. And YouTube totally blocked that video. So you can't watch the video on YouTube. If you want to watch it or go back and sample 8 hours of complete madness, you're going to have to go to Rumble. You're going to have to go, I don't know, I think it's on X. I think it's on Facebook as well. Maybe we can put links to those in the show notes for you at the top of the hour at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. And if you're new here because you saw us last night, let us know what you thought. We'd love to get your take on that. But good morning to you, producer Jake. How are you feeling? I mean, like it feels like just an hour ago when we wrapped that up. Did you even go home last night?
I did go home so I could grab a small bite to eat and clean up, shower, change. There was what I think can charitably be called a hint of nap. And then I made it back here.
Adjacent.
Yes.
Yeah, nap adjacent. I was afraid to go to bed, to be honest.
So was I. Yeah,
I wasn't going to wake up.
It was almost against my will that I actually did doze off for a second, and I had my alarm set for.
And I did what I did what I never do. I feel bad about admitting this publicly, but I actually smashed the snooze button this morning. I allowed myself to go back to bed for 10 more minutes.
If any night and morning justified that, it was after that marathon session last night.
I find it incredibly fascinating. In fact, I want to play a clip and sort of get your take on this, Jake. I think the conversation we had last night was wonderful. 8 hours of great conversation, but we looked at all kinds of information. We looked at the county levels. We looked at each state. We looked at many different outlets and what they were saying. And here is Scott Jennings out of CNN basically summarizing this. Have a listen to this clip.
This is a mandate. He's won the national popular vote for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans. Fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who...
In this clip, I'm going to finish playing it here in a second, but I'm just stunned because I'm listening to Scott Jennings talk to a panel to include Anderson Cooper and others. And they're just sitting in absolute silence. Their body language is they're totally tuned in to everything he has to say. It's as though they didn't see this coming. You know what I mean? Like they are so stunned that they have turned to Scott Jennings to explain to them exactly what has happened last night. They just can't seem to wrap their head around it. So they are hanging on his every word.
Has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line. And we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
Half. It might even be more than that. Jake, what do you make of this? It seems like they didn't see this coming. Do you think that's fair based on everything we talked about and covered last night?
I think so. There might be a few who suspected it, who were more worried, but I think a lot of the legacy media believes their own hype. They trust their own rhetoric. They're convinced that they've got the pulse of the nation. They've got their finger on pop culture. Kamala got such and such many TikTok retweets or whatever you call it, with that that whole brat thing, clearly that's she's in touch, whichever she's the thing. I think a lot, I'm not going to say all, but I think a lot of the legacy media believes their own hype about that. They really do kind of swallow what they're serving up. So I think it for some it might be a wake up call. They might actually realize that they don't know everything. For a lot, I think they're still going to keep on believing the sort of the party word that goes out. So not sure if much will change for them.
And the sheer delay of a lot of those news outlets to call certain states that were just obviously going to go for Donald Trump, just dragging it out as far as they possibly could, just hoping against hope. In fact, I watched a different news clip from a different mainstream media outlet, and the host, it was hilarious because she's asking this guy like, "Hey, okay, find me a path, find me a way that Kamala still wins this thing," and he was like, she's like, "I know you're just thinking about it." He's like, "No," he goes, "That's not it." He goes, "There is no path. There's no."
Yeah.
He goes, "Maybe she'll win Arizona, maybe." But she can't win. I mean, we talked about that so many times last night. Hours ahead of Donald Trump taking the stage on his campaign speech and giving thanks to the audience and all of his supporters and his family and friends. Well before that, we looked at the map, we spitballed that. We were giving Kamala every state we could possibly give her, to include the Rust Belt, and the math always worked out that Donald Trump would win. And we're not even done counting right now. He has 277 electoral votes, according to Google, according to the Associated Press, and others like the Daily Wire were far more aggressive in giving him more electoral votes than that. It's very likely he might come into the 312 range, 315 range when all is said and done. What do you think about the shenanigans, though? I think a lot of people were worried about shenanigans like the stuff we experienced in 2020. I didn't see a whole lot of that, but there were reports, especially Steven Crowder out of Philadelphia had video of box trucks arriving in the middle of the night, new poll workers arriving in the middle of the night. That seems suspicious.
I think Trump's campaign had 4 years of prep to be ready for that, and they were ready. They had boots on the ground ready to respond to it. They were tweeting about it all night, saying there were issues in Milwaukee, we're making them recount it, and then lo and behold, Wisconsin goes for Trump. So I think they were well prepared, and it was too big to steal. I mean, all the metrics everywhere. Donald Trump outperformed 2020 in so many categories across the nation, even in blue states. You know that he didn't win the states, but he came really closer than any Republican has come in decades. You know, and there were so many. It really was too big to rig, so to speak. So I think that's, I don't even think a lot of the news outlets were hoping for that when they were dragging their feet. I think they just didn't want to admit the inevitable, or they wanted to just keep dragging out the coverage as long as possible because, hey, it's views and clicks, just thinking purely mercenary standpoint. Like, well, let's just keep the coverage going as long as we can and drag it out and make the most of it because, we know we can see there's no path. So I don't think even they were hoping that there was going to be some kind of magical little bump in the middle of the night, so to speak.
I was watching the live video feeds of the various rallies, the Trump rally, the Harris rally, and kind of trying to get the body language of those crowds to figure them out. And two things surprised me. One is even as we got long in the tooth in the night, and it was obvious that Kamala Harris was not going to win, I watched the body language of those there in the crowd, and they weren't doing what Hillary Clinton's audience did in 2016. Yeah. They weren't like crying endlessly and thinking it was the end of the world. They were just sort of they were like numb a little bit. And then I guess apparently there was reporters speaking on the loudspeaker, and someone at CNN expressed doubt about her ability to win. So they cut the feed of that, and then they started playing music, and then so they started dancing. But then we started seeing people leave a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering at what point is an announcement going to be made? And then all of a sudden she sends somebody out to make the announcement that she would not be speaking. And then everybody packed up and left. But conversely, over at the Trump rally, I watched that crowd too. And even though they had all the good news going in their favor, a landslide, as some are saying, they still seem very somber. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
I think they were tense. They were expecting more shenanigans. I think everyone's kind of a little traumatized, so to speak, from 2020. No one knew what was going on. The delay in calling the states, there was just people weren't sure, it's going to go one way, it's going to go the other. Surely Harris will pull something out, or surely they'll deliver another several truckloads of ballots at 3 a.m., I think there was a whole lot of just nervousness and uncertainty on both sides. No one was ready to, including the news outlets. No one wanted to be the first one to say, "Yeah, let's call it. The night's over." Like no one had the guts to do that. I think that's really the main part of it.
I found it really fascinating that New York took forever to report anything. We were already seeing Midwest states report before New York put a single vote on the board. I thought that was fascinating.
And take a look at Trump's metrics in New York. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure he won Florida by more than Harris won New York. Let that sink in.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we knew that New York was going to go blue, but not by a lot, not by a landslide, that's for sure. It's definitely a blue state, there's no question.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he performed way above expectation in many, many categories. And I think a lot of these people in mainstream media, I think a lot of people on X this morning are going to be in complete meltdown mode because they think it's the end of the world. Here's some questions. Do you think Donald Trump's going to pardon the J6ers? Do you think Donald Trump's going to pardon the pro-lifers that have been sent to prison under this DOJ and the Kamala Harris-Biden administration? Do you think Donald Trump is going to pardon Hunter Biden? I want to ask those questions to Steve Cunningham, get his reaction to last night's news as we face this waking up to a Trump 2.0 president, 47. Can you imagine? More coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. And I want to thank our sponsor of this news segment, iCatholicMobile.com, sponsor of the Station Across Catholic Media Network, and the only Catholic phone company that I know of. I mean, there's others, Charity Mobile, Patriot, but none of those are Catholic. This one's Catholic, praise be to God. And yeah, they got unlimited data plans, and of course they're going to give you a waive of your activation fee if you mention my name, but they're on the team. They're on the Catholic team. We love it. We love partnering with them. So thank you, iCatholic Mobile, for your generosity. Hey, all right, let's jump into the news. Catholic Vote is reporting a man threatens to shoot Christian filth if Trump wins. The FBI yesterday arrested a 25-year-old man now charged with allegedly sending a message threatening to shoot Christians with an AR-15 if Trump is elected president. In an anonymous November the 2nd message to the FBI office, the suspect wrote, quote, "I shall carry out an attack against conservative Christian filth in the event Trump wins the election. I have a stolen AR-15 and a target that I refuse to name so I can continue to get away with my plans," close quote. Guess that worked out. A Ground News reports Hurricane Rafael threatens Caribbean. Cuba braces for second major storm. Sources agree that Hurricane Rafael poses a significant threat to multiple regions, including Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, and potentially Florida. With expectations of heavy rainfall, flooding, and potential mudslides, Rafael is the 17th named storm of the unusually active 2024 hurricane season. It poses significant risks to areas still recovering from Hurricane Oscar, particularly Cuba, which is struggling with recent power grid failures. Catholic News Agency reports Catholic voters favor Trump over Harris nationally and in swing states, exit polls show. According to the Washington Post exit poll, Trump won the national Catholic vote by a 15-point margin, 56 to 41%. This shows a much larger victory for Trump among Catholic voters than the Post 2020 exit polls, which showed Trump with only a 5-point lead above President Joe Biden. The shift represents a 10-point swing in favor of Trump from 2020 to 2024. Those are your headline news. Praise be to God. Hey, Sensus Fidelium is, one of those outlets that I love. I love listening to the homilies that are posted to the YouTube channel, and they publish books, too. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sensus Fidelium Press. I want to encourage you to check it out. We're going to put a link to it today in the show notes, sensusfideliumpress.com. Steve Cunningham, founder, is on the team today. Good morning to you, Steve.
Good morning, Joe. How you doing, bud?
I am half asleep. I'm exhausted. We were there until the bitter, bloody end of Donald Trump's victory speech. How late did you stay up?
I was at about midnight, 12:30, but I was working on the website. I glanced in at I cared more about the local stuff. I knew back in May that Trump was going to win hands down easily. And so I didn't even,
easily.
Really
come on. Easily. I can't say that I thought he was going to win easily.
I'm on video saying that. Yeah, I knew this was in the bag. Right when Brandon left, it was over.
It was over. Let's take a step back. Let's talk about that for a second. So I think that's one of the big issues, and we talked about this last night on our live stream, was, the American people didn't get to choose Kamala Harris to be their running mate or to be their running candidate choice for the Democrat ticket. She was chosen, I would argue, by Barack Obama, and the DNC just rubber stamped that process. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, great democracy, right? You got to save democracy by not doing democracy. Like, hey, I was elected democratically. No, you weren't. I was surprised more like how Bernie and those guys were accepting her on that. I mean, like Bernie during Hillary years ended up getting paid off to not be in it anymore, and just Bernie's not for billionaires, and then he's out there hacking up for cackles, going, dude, where's the rest of you guys' spine? Yeah, but Barack's 100% in charge. That's why I was thinking also with Michelle, who will be there in 2028. She wasn't ready for this, and it was too late in the action. Plus, you got the extracurricular activities going around DJT throughout the entire time. There's no way he was going to, let's just send out a sacrificial lamb. This lady we hate. There was no way that Barack was going to let some other black lady other than his wife be the first black lady president. There was no way that was going to happen. And that's why Tim Kaine had to get through like 9 VP candidates before you got get Coach Tim. That was, like I said, it was.
Okay, you're kind of blowing my mind here because I hadn't thought of this. You're suggesting then that Barack Obama knew this was a loser, so this was a walk on base here.
Bill Maher, for example, a couple days ago made a joke about Kamala going, we can count how many electorals she won in 2020 on one hand without fingers. Even their side was like, this is the worst person that we nobody likes this lady. And then you send out the sacrificial lamb to get the L. That way Brandon can go out on, he's just kind of senile. He doesn't lose. He's just removed, stepped aside because he's great. He's doing his country's pride or whatever it was. We send out this lady to get slacked, and then we come back out in 4 years with the Terminator, which would be Michelle for 8 years because the GOP has probably nothing to run back on after DJT.
Did you see Jill Biden go to vote wearing a red suit yesterday?
I did see her. That wasn't
that's not sending signals. I don't know what is, right? Like what Democrat wears a red suit to go vote on election day?
Remember Brandon putting the MAGA hat on and then carrying it up the stairs?
I liked that. I thought it was endearing.
Bill threw Kamala and them under the bus the other day, saying, "Well, if we didn't have that border problem."
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's been a bizarre run to say the least. And that was one of the issues that I just couldn't wrap my head around is she was always left of Bernie Sanders in the Senate. She gets the official nod from the powers that be. And then, of course, she chooses Tim Walz to be a running mate. The sergeant major is a hardcore lefty. Like nothing that represents middle America in the slightest. Obviously, you don't expect to win this. Clearly, you don't expect to win this. And yet, I think this morning people are waking up, and I played a clip in the last segment from CNN. They are just stunned. They didn't see this coming, Steve. How do they not see that coming?
I think they might just be on show for this because this is the best thing for their ratings. If the cop wins, their ratings are down. But if DJT's back in, CNN, MSNBC, we got something to talk about for 4 years.
Yes, that's right. Yes. I said that last night. I said, guys, we're going to get 4 more years of Donald Trump press conferences. Can you just imagine? This is going to be interesting. The president actually fielding questions and taking questions and giving answers from the press. It's not just going to be Karine Jean-Pierre doing it on his behalf. It's going to be very interesting times.
That might be one of the better things. No more KJP things. will Trump be this glorious white knight savior? I mean, we look at the baseball card stats from 4 years ago. I mean, he drone bombed more than Obama. The price everything went up. Planned Parenthood got more money. Inflation, all that jazz was nothing good. Not a lot of good was coming out of it. I don't know if everyone just has short-term memory. Not saying Kamala was a better idea. It would have been
definitely not.
I was like, why'd you guys put this one in of all the people you had? But again, my conspiratorial mind, 2020 was no accident. 2016 was no accident. 2012 was no accident. Why would we think 2024 was no accident? Hence why I was saying DJT's coming in. Just like in 2016, you let the steam out after 4 years of Brandon and Cackles being in there. Everyone's ticked. There's no way in God's green earth they were going to let that go over with everyone just getting more mad. You let the steam out. Maybe they introduced digital ID because of we got Elon Musk and Peter Thiel in office now. Maybe we get CBDC. Who knows? I mean, there was a lot of promises about getting rid of the fluoride, getting rid of vaccines. We'll see. I want his cheerleaders be all over him if after 100 days, stuff that he promised this time around doesn't go through. Because I mean, we got to hold these guys accountable, just like anybody else. He's a politician. He promised everyone out there he's going to put an oath in a couple days or a couple months. He's made some
big promises this time around. It'll be interesting to see how he keeps those. Deportations is definitely one of the things he promised in a stump. Yep. We're all curious. How are you going to pull that off? Where are you going to get the money to pull off an operation of that magnitude and that size? That ought to be very, very interesting, of course. Then he still has the forever wars to deal with. How friendly is he going to be with Benjamin Netanyahu in the war in Gaza? Benjamin Netanyahu just fired his defense minister guy because he was afraid the defense minister guy was too much on the team at the Kamala Harris Biden administration. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how Trump handles and navigates the Ukraine, China, and all of this stuff. And I do think he is better suited for sure to do those things than other candidates would have been. So, but now we've passed it, like good old, what's her name, who just won her reelection out of San Francisco. Well, we passed it. Now we got to see what's in it. But there's some other things I want to get your take on. Let's talk about the Catholic vote and its impact. I saw this beautiful meme by Joshua Mercer over Catholic vote last night put up. It says, maybe next time you'll come to the Al Smith dinner. It's got a picture of Cardinal Dolan sipping on some wine, right? Giving a little look, a sarcastic look out of the side of his eye. I find that very, very funny, but I'm not so sure that American Catholics truly care about the Al Smith dinner, to be honest, or whatever. I think the guy over at CNN, he summarized it best. I think the average Americans was just sick and tired of being told that they're racist, that they're Nazis, that they're garbage, that they're fascists. And they want a better economy and a better life, and they thought Donald Trump could provide that. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, hopefully people have some brains in their head when they said, like, when Cackles would come out saying that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to get the groceries lower, and things like that going.
Like, yeah. By fiat or what? How's that work?
The answer why can't you just do that now? If you got this power.
Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. Donald Trump was running for president. You know what I mean? Like, every time that woman tried to answer questions, it got worse and worse and worse. I mean, it was unbelievable that they put her up for that.
We've been unburdened for what it has been. So, I mean.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. No, the good news is we don't have to deal with that for 4 more years.
It is interesting how, like, Michigan, for example, went DJT, but pro-abort. Pro-life got killed, no pun intended.
It did.
Yesterday.
True story. Yep. Only in Florida.
Even here in North Carolina.
Florida is the only positive on that note. Missouri, Arizona, Montana, Nebraska, all of them lost their pro-life efforts yesterday.
No, Nebraska
so
won.
abortion won big.
Nebraska and Florida won. Yeah.
I didn't think Nebraska won. I thought Florida
we lost. Here in North Carolina, we lost across the board on that. Governor lost. It went blue. Lieutenant governor, blue. And it was all pro-aborts. Lieutenant governor, AG, Supreme Court vote that we had, a couple state senators, all blue, all running on pro-death. It all is the Mark Robinson effect here in a sense, because he wanted to end abortion totally. And I keep on getting mad at it going, where was Pro-Life Inc. on this? We had a governor going and say, I want to end all abortion. Not a peep. And he noticed there was a black guy, and NAACP didn't want to come down and help out him because of the other guy was out there calling him names and all this. If it was reversed, these guys would have gone nuts. But pro-death won a lot last time.
Yeah, where is the pro-life cause on all of that? Maybe they were out there, maybe they were sounding the alarm and I just didn't hear them loud enough. I heard, obviously, the Florida issue came up quite a bit. Right. I did hear about that, but not really on Missouri, not really in Arizona. Maybe they were local issues that were getting a lot of local coverage, but from a national perspective, I didn't hear a whole lot about any of that.
Let me blow your mind a little bit more on this one.
Go for it.
I called friends of mine in Colorado about the Colorado one. We knew about this for months. These guys were big in the pro-life in the Catholic world out in Colorado. Quotes back to me, I did not know this was going on.
You're kidding. How do you not know that?
We were doomed to fail in Colorado.
Wow. So it's fascinating that the Catholic vote swings 10 points for Donald Trump from 2020 to 2024, effectively giving him the election, as some would say. But yet we lose big on the abortion mandates across our country last night. That is another failure on our part. And how many children are going to die as a result of that? I think we should be thinking about that very soberly this morning. Hey, we're at a break. Don't go anywhere. Steve Cunningham from Sensus Fidelium is our guest. We're going to put a link to his website, sensusfideliumpress.com, for sure. You should check that out. Buy some of this product, too. That'd be amazing. But coming up after the break, let's talk about, will Donald Trump, will he pardon the J6ers? Will he pardon the pro-lifers? Will he pardon Hunter Biden? All of that and more is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God as we wake up to Trump 2.0 and the great meltdown has begun. Did you catch any Rachel Maddow last night? Oh, my heavens. That woman has definitely lost her mind. It's going to be fun next 4 years just watching that for entertainment purposes. But last night, Jake and I and the team got together. We did it was basically an 8-hour live stream with the live election results, which was a lot of fun. Never done one of those before, so I thought that was very fascinating. We had a good time doing it, hanging out with a lot of great people online and commenting and interacting, and really enjoyed that, praise be to God. I'd love to send you the YouTube link to that, but unfortunately, YouTube blocked it, totally blocked it, won't show it to anybody, which I thought was hilarious this morning when I got up. But it is available on Rumble. We'll put a link to that in the show notes for you at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. But we're having a conversation with Steve Cunningham from Sensus Fidelium. We're going to put a link to his press as well, sensusfideliumpress.com, in the show notes for you. And by the way, also, before I jump back in, I did see that we have a straw poll going over on our YouTube feed this morning. Are you happy with the election results? There's been almost 430 responses so far, and 91% say yes, 1% say no, 4% say somewhat, 4% say don't really care. I think that's great. So if you've not voted and you want to vote, go to thestationofthecross.com/ACT. You can go down to the live video player, and just underneath that, you'll see an icon for YouTube, and you can click on that, and you can be a part of the conversation. Coming up in the after show, we'll interact directly with you and get your take on all of this in our live video feed after show. Steve, welcome back to the program. Let's talk about some of the more of those promises from Donald Trump in his second term as president of the United States. Do you think he's gonna pardon the J6ers?
I probably, just because the way everything went down, I would be shocked if he didn't. I mean,
how do you think that'll go over?
That seems like a layup.
How do you think it's going to go over? I mean, I think most of his base is going to be completely happy with that, want him to do that. But I think maybe 50% of this country is going to have an issue with that because they love that title. They love that word, insurrection.
Yes, they do. I did see a clip with Juan Williams this morning, and was it Brett was told him, because, well, I don't, maybe half the people don't think it's an insurrection like you do, Juan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they pound that in the ground. Well, they still use that here. One of the lieutenant governor guy, they call him an insurrectionist guy because he's part of Team MAGA. So they've been using that stick for years is like a blank check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's been even Catholics on X this week basically going with the whole racist narrative with Donald Trump. I mean, it's bizarre that they sort of rinse and repeat these talking points without thinking about them too much. And the insurrection is definitely one of those items. So do you think Donald Trump will care about the pressure that he might receive in pardoning? I hope he does pardon the J6ers personally.
No, I don't think he cares. I mean, you see how he acts and everything. I mean, that part, no, don't. It's probably like a mine. Don't care. We're getting this done. Now, will he do what he talked about before about maybe getting rid of the income tax? Hey, I'm holding feet to the fire on that one.
You want him to do that one?
Throw the fluoride out of the water? Oh yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of lefties that we turned our brains off. We want to jab up our kids. If we don't kill them, we want to make sure we inject them with poison, and then make them drink poison, and then charge them 40% of their income when they get older. You know,
isn't that something?
I'm fine with eliminating all that.
Yeah, I would be too. What about pro-lifers? You think he'll pardon the pro-lifers that went to prison, grandmas that went to prison for standing up to try to save babies?
If Pro-Life Inc. and those guys aren't pushing on that, I mean, I don't know what can be done. I don't know if it's on his radar. I guess if it would come up, I think he could. I mean, obviously that'd be an easy one too, like a layup and a good PR thing. But I mean, remember, it's a lame duck 4 years. You know, Patrick Henry warned that this would become an elected monarch. Yeah, he's got nothing to lose. Most people are centralists, thinking that we have a monarch anyways. Act like we do, which we kind of do, as Henry said we would have. So, I mean, he could go all in, which would be bad precedent in 4 years when the other team does the same thing that our guy's going to do. And now we're going to sit back, well, it's okay when we do it. It's going to be an interesting ride, just getting set up for the 2028 years, and the 2030 will come in between that agenda 2030. Put on my tinfoil hat thing again, because that's the next go around.
We definitely need the tinfoil hats here today. So he's got, not only is it he's got nothing to lose in this next 4 years because he's not running again, but he's also got the House. He's also got the Senate. I mean, he's got no excuse. He could potentially put even more Supreme Court justices on the bench, which, by the way, that was one of the things I would say about his first 4 years. I don't give Donald Trump credit for that. I give the Federalist Society credit for that. It was the Federalist Society who came up with those names. It was the Federalist Society who said, Donald, you need to take these people to Congress and get them passed. These people need to be on the bench. These are the right folks. And to his credit, that's all he did. Took that list and he went with it. He needs to do that again in his next 4 year term. But with everything going for him, it makes you wonder. He might be able to get something done in the next 4 years that he wasn't able to do in his first term. But one of the caveats that I'm really concerned about is his cabinet appointments. I don't think he did all that great in his first 4 years appointing people to his cabinet. A lot of rhinos there that circumvented his efforts and sort of made things worse. Wouldn't you agree?
John Bolton right off the top. I mean, he talked about, I'm going to drain the swamp. Wow, he filled the swamp last time around. So hopefully he's got a better right-hand man in his ear going, you may not want to do that, dude. That guy is pretty much like Satan incarnate. Let's not have him here. I mean, when he put Bolton, I remember just when he put Bolton, he apologized for this on one of the shows, I think. Was it Rogan? And he said, oh, yeah, a friend of mine, a really smart guy, ended up saying, that's not a good idea. But I told him I already gave him the job. I'm like, what were you doing beforehand? Did you not look it up? Like, how'd you so obtuse that you didn't know how bad Bolton was? It's like, you know what? I want Lindsey Graham to run the DOD.
Bill Barr, there's a bunch of them. Bill Barr, there was a ton of them. There was a ton of them, that were in his cabinet. They were just terrible choices. And they all stabbed him in the back at the end, right towards the end there. It just got so ugly.
Which was hilarious when Cackles were saying all these guys that get down this laundry list, Cheney and Bolton, all these guys going, it was that mean. It literally was that mean. Well, you don't have to sell me on it. If these guys don't like the guy, I like the guy even more.
It's like, you're saying Cheney's endorsing Kamala Harris? Oh, all right. Then I guess we're voting for Donald Trump now. Like, who on Kamala Harris's team thought that was a great idea? Let's run with this. Let's get Cheney's on our team. Like, seriously? Like, this is a terrible idea. America does not like the Cheneys, for crying out loud. I mean, the J6 committee, let alone the whole Iraq invasion kind of a thing. Like, it just boggles the mind. Who's in charge and why? There's no rhyme or reason to it. Okay, but we're going to run out of time on the radio side. We can continue in the live video feed, but some people are saying that there's talk of Donald Trump considering a pardon for Hunter Biden. Do you think that he'll do that?
So after 2016, he had Bill at lock her up. 2 weeks later, it's still on video. You can look it up. Is at the inauguration breakfast.
Yeah.
Is my good friends Bill and Hillary Clinton. These guys are all, it's WWF, and we're Wrestling Federation before it changed to WWE. The cameras go off, they're all friends. Like, it's the same thing. Cameras are off, they hubby bubby, shake hands. We like, hey man, can you help me out with this? Sure. I wouldn't be shocked if that comes down. Now, cameras are on. Yeah, sure, you might appeal to the base a little bit. I don't know, but I mean, these guys are all friends.
Well, they say it's a nod towards bringing reconciliation to the country by pardoning Hunter Biden. It makes people like him more. So we'll see.
Last time I heard reconciliation, they had this thing called Reconstruction where they destroyed the South. So I don't trust that word.
You're still holding on to that one, huh, Steve? You're still holding on to that one. That's fun. Praise be to God. Just un poquito. We ought to talk about that in the after show, because there's a great Confederate General Longstreet became Catholic after the war, and a Republican, and embraced Reconstruction. And thanks to his efforts, I would argue, the South has become deep red in 2024. So maybe more on that in the after show. We'll see you guys right back here tomorrow morning. Until then, God love you and God bless you.
The Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network is dedicated to answering the critical need of access to quality, consistent, professional, and proven Catholic programming. We cannot rely on other media outlets to properly represent our church. Catholic radio reaches Catholics, non-Catholic Christians, and non-believers alike. As a nonprofit lay organization financially independent of your diocese, our apostolate is listener-supported.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
It's great to stay up late.
Is it? How great is that, actually? I'm not sure how great that actually is, especially at my vintage. You can handle it. You're young and...
Oh, my goodness. This is I can't handle it the way I could back in college. That's for sure. That was some years ago. They add up.
They do add up. Hey, by the way, if you're new here, so we do we just concluded our radio side of our program, live radio show, Monday through Friday across the Station Across Network. And then we continue on just on live video feeds on social media to continue our conversation. And we call this the after show. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're a part of it. I'm just trying to get all the chat boxes up so I can give some shout outs. And if you're new here, I would love to give you an acknowledgement. So let us know where you are from, where you're listening. That would be amazing. Praise be to God. So we have our insiders. We have a Telegram group just for the ACT insiders that hang out with us every day. Alejandro from sunny California, good morning to you. James 16897. Sharon, our good friend from New Hampshire, good morning. Jane Steves, good morning. Paul from Buffalo. Buffalo went pretty blue last night. The county to the north, though, Niagara Falls. Is it Niagara County or Niagara Falls County?
It's Niagara County.
County.
The city of Niagara Falls is in Niagara County.
I drove through that county back in August. Beautiful farmland.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of farm stands everywhere you go. Loved it. It was great. Bronx Catholic, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out today. Praise be to God. Mateus from sunny California, good morning to you, my friend. Boy, they didn't even wait very long to call California. As soon as the polls closed, they just called it for Kamala Harris. It was hilarious. Like, not a single vote got posted. Just, hey, this is hers. Like, why are we bothering with this? I'd love to know. Oh, we should go and check out what the margin is. I wanted to know what the margin was.
Where?
California.
Oh, I think it was quite handy. I think it was like 60-30 or something like that.
Was it that big?
It was something pretty big. It was bigger than in any other state.
Hey, Mike K, our friend, happy birthday to you again. He hung out with us last night. That was great. Thanks for hanging out. Yvonne, good morning. Appreciate you guys being here. Praise be to God. Let us know if you guys have any questions for Steve, for sure. Janice, good morning.
Okay,
Thanks for
wasn't
being
quite
on.
that big. It was it's California was 57 to 40%.
57 to 40. That's actually much more narrow than I thought it was. That's pretty good.
Yeah. New York was 55 to 45.
55. So she had a 10-point lead in New York. And Karen Collins, Tim H., good morning to you from England, Ann. Well, we're glad you're on the team today. What does England think of our election shenanigans? I'd be very curious. We had Sam McCarthy on from Ireland, and, one of the things he said was they weren't really paying all that much attention to what we were doing. I mean, I find that interesting. Mm. So let me know what you think, Ann.
I was watching GB News a little bit. They were interested.
Which outlets did you watch, Steve?
I had GB News on for about 30 minutes. I was watching mostly Spectrum Local.
Did you find the coverage good, fair, balanced, anything like that, or was
shocking? There was a couple haters on their thing, but they seemed decent. They had Nigel on to interview him. After he got off, but they had one hater that was really putting the screws to everybody on. But I was shocked that they were even up doing it as in detailed. And what I mean by that is they were actually showing all the things going in more states where you have other channels that were pretty much just showing them sitting around a table talking. It's like these guys are actually, if you wanted any info, you turn on GB News, you could see it a lot right up to the minimum. Like, why are these guys even doing that? But yeah, they were all in.
We were trying to do something similar. We were looking at the returns on a state level and in some cases even on a county level, which was interesting. Hey, Junior Barra, good morning to you, my friend Patty, our friends from Texas over on the Facebooks. I am that old, Patty. It's true. Very old. Don Paddock, good morning to you. Welcome. And Jane, I see you there. Jane Steves, good morning. Linda Ann Wheeler says, I slept from 9, then woke up at 1 and watched to 4 o'clock. I feel like Biden voted for Trump. We all laughed about Biden going to bed at 9:30 last night. I said, take a moment to reflect on this. It's the most consequential election of our time. That's what we're told every time. Like, whatever. It's the most consequential election of our time. We're launching hypersonic missiles off the coast on an election night, potentially riots.
Go off on their own.
Yeah, I mean, like there's potential riots. I mean, Antifa tried to pull some shenanigans in Portland. Thankfully, the cops shut them down. Praise be to God. But there's a lot at stake, and Joe Biden goes to bed. I know I get it. He's older. He's senile. I understand all of that, but he's the president of the United States. At least pretend for a couple more months, man. It's all you got. But he goes to bed. I think that was obviously a snub towards Kamala. Don't you, Steve?
I'm torn because me, I'm going, I don't care because he doesn't have the power to do everything everyone wants him to do. And when he goes to bed at night, I'd rather be at the beach all day long or, play golf like DJT or anybody. Get him away from things. You're not supposed to be, you're not a legislator, you're not this, you're not supposed to be at least. So I look at it going, no big deal. But the way we do have it, throughout the last couple of months, there was a lot of snubs that he was doing at Cackles and Freedom Tunes did you guys watch Freedom Tunes?
No, not really. I mean, I know of it, of course, and I have in the past, but I haven't watched it. No.
They had a great one when Cackles brings Biden up to the podium and says, say the thing, but Joe, say the thing. And he's praising her, and she's all this listening. He goes, every time you see what I did, she was right there with me.
Oh, man. It's so bizarre. The fact that his wife wore red, he goes to bed, he wore the MAGA hat, it seemed like he was obviously very bitter over getting kicked out by his buddy Barack, I think. And he was punishing
throughout the time throughout the time, you remember seeing the big meetings they had, and everybody shaking Barack's hand, but no one shaking Joe's. There's a lot of stuff that was going. He's in the background, people making fun of him. I'm sure he sees that, and then everything that went down. I mean, they put him out there. They didn't have him on his meds like 2020 when you could say like, oh, look at his eyeballs, they're wide awake and all this. It's clearly that DJT was probably holding back, going, this guy might die on stage. I mean, I can't just box him. You know?
Yeah, we can't. We got to be careful.
I got to go a little easy on him.
We do got to be careful.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Ramirez, good morning to you. Shannon Spencer, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out. Don Franco is on the team. Good morning to you, Don. Tradish Mom is here over on the Rumbles. If you're on Rumble and you've never commented before, make today that day. Praise be to God. Banji 245, good morning to you. Pray for us at Mass today. We'd be grateful to you. Lynn Pine, Sci-Fi Mike, good morning. Good to see you here, my friend. Let's see, Jim Awini, good morning to you. Prop 1 passed in New York. Our Constitution will now protect abortion and trans rights. That's how horrible is that, huh? How bad is that? That's America today. That's a problem we need to correct. We need to correct. And we said it last night on the stream, and I totally agree. It's a problem that can only be corrected truly through evangelization, in my opinion. You're not gonna legislate that issue correctly. It's just never going to happen. But if we evangelize and change people's hearts and minds because they come into a deeper, more profound relationship with Jesus Christ and His one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, then we won't. It doesn't matter what the law is. They won't abort their children. They won't divorce their spouses. They won't do these things because they will be convicted for love of God, not to commit sins. But I'll also say that I don't necessarily believe in the era of the layperson. I believe only the bishops getting off the fence, getting off their duff, and deciding to evangelize every soul, not some souls. That we will see the society transform when they made that decision. But they have to decide that every soul in their jurisdiction must become Catholic at all costs, even if it means that they go to prison or they die. Like that's the level of commitment. The gospel today for the Mass, Jesus says, unless you're willing to give it all up for me, you can't be my disciple. I think that message, first and foremost, must be heard by the successors of the apostles.
And what you got to lose at this point?
Right, exactly. Low-key 139, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. Buck Seas. That's all. That's close to Buck. I had to take a double look there. I haven't slept in 24 hours, so I had to look and go, is that Bucky's? I mean, I don't have my Bucky's cup up here. I'm on Bucky's team for sure. Gus DMH, good morning to you. Thanks for being on the team today. Appreciate having you here. Freedom Tunes is hilarious, Tradish Mom says. Miriam, female KC Royals fan. John B., welcome to the team. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Alaric, good morning to you. Gregory is back. Good morning. Stephen S. Lights 10. Good morning. Christine Dion. Hello and welcome. You lost. What happened in New Hampshire? You voted for a Republican governor, but not a Republican president? What? Come on, New Hampshire. You're not Vermont or Maine or Massachusetts. You don't need to vote like they do. Irene, good morning to you. Helen Grace. Teresa, good morning to you. Melanie, Craig, welcome back. Greg, you didn't sleep either, Craig. There's a lot of people here that didn't sleep last night, I could tell. But thanks for doing it. Kilroy Jones, Patricia, good morning. Laura is here. Weekend at Bernie's needs his sleep. Oh, boy. He does, for sure. What did you think of Kamala not taking the stage and making any announcement last night? Steve.
His mind passed out drunk. I don't know.
Like we didn't see the last video clip we saw of her last night was of her reportedly taking a phone call in the poll watching center or whatever she was in her command bunker, taking a phone call from somebody who said they were voting for her, and she holds the phone up and it's on her camera app, not on the phone. I think she might have faked that. And that was the last clip we saw of her last night.
Well, the clip we saw before that was of her meeting with a voter and then saying, okay, let's go over and we'll pretend I'm knocking on the door for the first time. So, I mean, that's kind of par for the course, I think.
So awkward, man.
Like, how are the fact that those videos are getting out so easily. And again, like, I think I mentioned it last night because everyone was afraid of the steal going to happen. And we were giving the New York Times updates. Like, New York Times has been leaking these very unfavorable stories about her for a few days leading up to the election. They kind of knew it was already going to go down.
Yeah, like how do we interpret that?
They were covering their bases, I think.
You think they're covering their bases? Or are they on the team? And that there's a project that they're a part of.
I remember 2016 when I was doing Uber all the time. My last drop off on election night was to the DNC party. I was dropping some lady off. She goes, "Come back in a few hours. You're going to have a lot of happy customers." And I remember about 11. I usually get up at 3 to start at 4 there, and I almost stayed up to midnight to go downtown and just blast Dixie on the radio.
Oh man, that's interesting. Let's talk about the South for a second. Because the South, antebellum period, and then, of course, post-Civil War was all Democrats. But now they're all Republicans, deep, deep red Republicans now, as we see from last night. The entire South went Republican. And as I said at the end of the radio side, General Longstreet, who converted to the Catholic faith when he was in New Orleans as a surveyor, he got on Team Grant, President Grant, and he was all about it. In fact, he caught a lot of flack from his Confederate compatriots, and he basically said, "Guys, we lost. We lost. We got to get on the team here." Now, I would say Longstreet felt like it was his best effort to slow the process down and take it more gradually. But the Reconstruction effort after the Civil War, the North occupied the South, and it was kind of a brutal period for our country. How do we explain that swap from Democrat to Republican, though?
I would say don't look at the party part of it, because the Republicans, the Lincolnian idea, he was the first radical Republican. And all those guys afterwards were pretty much the same. And the Democrats were actually the pro-family, pro-life group in a sense. They were like, Lincoln was for the Corwin Amendment as well. He was for slavery being perpetual. A lot of those abolitionists that you hear about, these guys were virtuous, blah, blah, blah. No, they hated black people. As you look up north now, you go to Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, things like that. It's segregated. It's still, blacks live over here, whites live over here. Down here, as Alexis de Tocqueville wrote in his book, Democracy in America, the races live together in harmony. It's just that the laws may not be on their side. And if you look at Abbeville Institute, they bring up this court appeal that it was a black lady in Florida. She had a fair trial in the 1840s, 1850s, something like that. And you would go, what are you talking about? Apparently she was charged for murder of a white lady. You would think, we know how this story is going to go. No, they went after the white lady. So a lot of history is written by the winners in a sense. The Democrats back then is what you see now. And what you see in the Southern Republican idea now, not as centralized, obviously, because now everyone's centralized. We got to get our one guy up here, 2 choices out of 320 million people to rule the entire land. Just eliminate the states. It's a Marxist idea in a sense, because that's what happened in Italy, France, Germany, and then the United States, all at the same period. 1860s. Italy got centralized, France and the French Revolution before that. Obviously, Germany, 1870s. Thomas Woods is out there talking about, you don't have Hitler if you keep this thing decentralized. You don't have World War I, World War II if it stayed like that. When that whole thing over here in the States, if the South would have gone, you don't have U.S. entering World War I at that time down the road. You don't have us entering World War II. But the party part of it is totally different than it is now. It's not the same Republicans then as it is now. It's more like the Democrats back then switched name in a sense. They kept the standards in the sense of small, quote unquote, try to be small government, I guess you could say in today's terms. But the radical Republicans back then are not the ones you have right now. Now we are getting run by the Northeast. This Northeast politics rule California and New York. And you get the Yankee idea is the puritanical idea of we're going to wake up in the morning and force you to live like us, which you see the Democrats do. And the Democrats back then would never have said, hey, we want you to live. No, we want to be left alone. Can you just leave us alone? And the Northeast did not want to do that. They wanted to shove their the Yankee puritanical idea. We wake up in the morning, I can't believe these guys are not killing their babies. We got to do something about it. That's that mindset today, in a sense.
That was a talking point from the Kamala Harris campaign. Was they wanted abortion on demand up to birth? Tim Walz doubled down on that when he came on the team, of course, and that's absolutely insane. Like, just to hear, I wonder what they think when they hear those words coming out of their own mouth. I mean, are you possessed by a demon? Because I'm starting to question. Because I think you'd have to be to say those things and mean it and be okay with that. Like, that's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And yeah, follow the money. Follow the money to Big Pharma. Follow the money to big Planned Parenthood. There's a lot of money at stake in that business, but it's huge. It's babies' lives that are the offering to Moloch in the process, and it's all diabolical. It's all evil, in my opinion. And so many Americans are indifferent to the issue. It's absolutely mind blowing to me that we can stand around here and tolerate that in any way, shape, or form. But we do. We do it all the time. And here we are seeing what some were saying is a mandate on the abortion issue. I'm not convinced America did send a mandate on the abortion issue last night, considering how many of those amendments got passed in all those states to get rid of the abortion restrictions in their states. Abortion won big last night.
Have you ever seen Blood Money?
Yeah.
You remember, like, Jesse Jackson used to be big pro-life, all of a sudden got paid, and now he's a pro-deather. That goes back to my thing with Mark Robinson. He should have been right there behind Robinson going, this is unjust what's going on. They make up this story, put on CNN about him doing this from 12 years ago, which just comes out of the blue since the guy's been in office for 8 years. And nobody got behind him because he was adamantly pro-life. He might not be the best. He doesn't like Catholics. Okay. But he was against everything else that that we stand with. He was against LGBT. He was against abortion. He was against all this stuff. And nobody came to his defense. Again, to switch that around, if a GOPer did that to a D, you would have had them all. You would have bus loads coming out. We're going to boycott the state if this happens like that. Like they did with the bathroom bill 8 years ago here. Pro-life got, again, like I said, slaughtered. It was just people that I knew, like I said, in Colorado, big Catholics, big in the pro-life movement, had no clue about that amendment going through. And until just a couple days ago, I still get texts from Colorado. I live in North Carolina, but I was getting a Aquila text, vote no on 75, whatever it was. I go, you guys are just doing that now? That was like 2 weeks ago. I first saw a text come through. I go, where were you at the last few months? It's not like this just came out of a wormhole or anything like that. You guys knew about it. Like New York, what was they doing? You guys are yucking up at the Al Smith there. Why didn't you say anything there? Maryland, supposedly Catholic area. I mean, you guys, Rhode Island was the first. They were the ones the first with the constitutional amendment on that for abortion. You see how small that is? Where's the Catholics up there? We have dropped the living ball. We fumbled that thing past the goal line. And it's so bad.
Is it too much to ask if we manage to get anti-abortion passed in every state and, kind of solve the issue, whatever means is used? Is it too much to ask if we do that, what will all these professional pro-lifers charge to give talks about?
My wife has said that before many times.
That was savage there, Jake. Wow.
It's 100% true, too. I mean, these guys bring in millions. Trent Horn had a great video yesterday or 2 days ago on the abortion stuff from one of from Wording. And he mentioned, I thought he was only wrong on this part, about how most of the pro-lifers are volunteers. And I'm going, wait a minute. Leila Rose's group said they make $1 million in donations. Lifesite News, they make over $1 million donations. We can't just say pro-deathers are spending millions of dollars when we're getting millions of dollars. What are we doing with the millions of dollars? We're not doing anything. I mean, they got big on the offensive of Florida, but I mean, like I said, when I said that Trump was going to win easily, I also said when I did the thing on the abortion, I go, Florida's going to win this. They're going to be fine. It's the rest of the guys. I missed Nebraska. I got the rest of them, unfortunately, right. If literal me that maybe get no donations, do that from groups that gets millions of dollars donations. What are you guys doing with those? What are you doing? Why do you exist? But like you said, is it just to do speeches and raise money? You're making videos with the chosen guys. I mean, who's doing this work? I mean, there's nobody doing it. It's so disunit in Colorado,
and
for example.
They're not on the same page either, right? Like,
exactly.
I'm for national personhood of the unborn. Like, that's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. Everyone who's pro-life should agree that a child in the womb, no matter what size or what stage they're in, is a person. So they have rights. It's not my body, my choice. The baby has its own body. At every stage of development has its own body, separate from its mother, even if it's within its mother's womb. But somehow all of these pro-life big organizations, and I find, especially in the Catholic Church, everything is so cliquey, right? We get into our little cliques, and then you're not our kind, so we don't really hang out with you, we don't talk to you, we don't work with you. Like, I get so sick and tired of the cliques within professional Catholicism these days. It just it's disgusting, because especially when it comes to the pro-life issue, like, it's a no-brainer. If you're pro-life, then you should feel that the unborn child has rights, that as a person has dignity made in God's image and likeness and must be defended. And we should all be on the same page, but we're not. We're definitely not on the same page. And it doesn't suit their apostolate with what they're doing. And therefore, we're not going to work. This one's not going to work with that one. And it just gets ridiculous over time. By the way, can we give a shout out here? I see Flying Tigers in the chat box this morning. He was up very late last night with us, Rob Morrow. Praise be to God, Rob. Thank you for your generosity of time hanging out with us on the feed, giving us some feedback, especially from a foreign affairs perspective. Really appreciated that. So hopefully you're going to get some sleep today. Praying for your mom, of course, as well.
Joe, can I blow your mind one more time?
Please? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I'm tired, so it's easy to do.
You mentioned the Personhood Amendment. Guess what group sabotaged the Personhood Amendment in Colorado?
I don't know who.
Pro-life
Planned
groups.
Parenthood? Who?
Pro-life groups.
See? What's up with that? Like, seriously.
That's coming directly from my pro-life friends in Colorado, because we had that on. We were pushing for that, and the pro-lifers went to Aquilas. No, we gotta stop. We can't do that right now. Look what we got, and look what they got now.
Man,
it's our own guy. We're taking the musket, hey, fire, and it's shooting at us.
It's insane. It's totally insane. Just me. Good morning to you. Says my son, firstborn, due date October 30th, was born July 21st instead in 1988. NICU saved his life. OBGYN, when first pregnant, told me to get an abortion due to complications. Switched to Catholic doctor. I'm glad you did. Yeah, you got to choose your doctors very carefully, which is, in 2008, I walked away from corporate America and a very lucrative, future career. I worked for a guy who owned the Houston Astros at the time. And I went into full-time 501c3 work for the Catholic faith. And I took a huge pay cut and lost all my benefits. Getting my wife to be okay with that was a trick in and of itself. But nonetheless, we never have been back on standard 80/20 health insurance since then. So I had no insurance whatsoever until 2009. And then in 2009, we finally got the health care share co-op thing. And I've been on that ever since 2009. I've had opportunities to go back on 80/20, and I've always refused it. And one of the big reasons why I refuse to go back on standard health insurance, 80/20 type of stuff, is because it locks you down. You don't get to choose your doctors as much. Oh, you get to choose within this network. That's it. Like, if I need something, then I should be able to go get what I need. And I should be able to go to the best source that I can afford or is available to me. I shouldn't have to, only go to these people or those people, because when they're in network, they're watching you like a fine-tooth comb, aren't they? Like, I see that you haven't followed the protocol with your child. And then that opens up a can of worms. You're kidding me? I divorced our family from that medical world in that way in 2009. I haven't looked back. I got to tell you, it's been a blessing. The healthcare sharing community, I think, is a model. It's subsidiarity, right? It's keeping things at the lowest possible level. Keep it simple, stupid, as we used to say in the Marine Corps. keep it simple, keep it local, keep it small. Don't take things and complicate them unnecessarily. So, and I think 80/20 insurance is that way. And I got to tell you, you go to the doctor today. If I had to go to the doctor today, there's two prices that they'll give you. And most people don't even know what it costs to go to a doctor. Why? Because they got 80/20 insurance. What's my copay? That's all it is. Like, you have no idea what you're actually paying for your health care. And you go to the doctor. If you're self-pay, you get a different price than if you're an insurance payer. Insurance pay pays this, and self-pay pays that. Why? Because they always inflate prices because it's a game. And they know that if they want this, they got to tell the insurance company that. The inflation is insane. The fat that they include is just absolutely bonkers. The whole thing is a hot mess. It's a hot mess. So I would encourage everyone to check out healthcare sharing.
Joe's out there speaking my love language. He's saying local. He's saying secession.
I know. I'd be pressing your button. That's for sure. That's for sure.
I'm over here trying to spot, and I worked in medical sales for years back in Obama days. And yeah, he's 100% right. We used to put a cash sheet and an insurance sheet and a little wrist brace. That thing would cost $7 cash. You bill it out Medicare, $110.
Yeah, exactly. 110.
That's centralized government. That's centralized medical, and every insurance company has to follow Medicare.
Dama Cattolica, I use Samaritan, and when I joined in 2009, there were no Catholic options. There were just Protestant ones, and so we joined Samaritan, and then Obamacare came in, or the Affordable Care Act, which, by the way, a lot of commentators are melting this morning thinking that Trump is going to do away with the Affordable Care Act. He didn't do away with it when he was president for the first 4 years. Is he going to? I don't know. I don't think he's going to, but whatever. So
if he comes and takes a hatchet to that, FBI, CIA, I'll build the darn statue for it.
That's right, exactly. I'll buy a MAGA hat. I promise. I will wear the MAGA hat on the show every day. If we get rid of the education department, the energy department, if we get rid of the taxes,
he does that, I'll have a MAGA hat on every show. I'll change my voice. We'll
get matching tattoos, Steve. You and I are going to go get MAGA tattoos if he does all of that. We're going to just go full bore. MAGA Nation. Anyway, when Obamacare got passed, Dama, they made it illegal to not have insurance. So it got tied to your tax returns every year. And they locked it down. They were not allowing any more healthcare sharing groups to be established. So that sort of locked everything in. We went Samaritan at the time, 2009. And when some groups started to be formed that were sort of, they found a loophole. They were able to get the what is it called? CMF Curo or something like that, the Catholic group. When they were able to establish those, that's because they were under the umbrella of a Protestant group, really is what happened. But I didn't switch. And one of the reasons why I didn't switch and I stayed where I was because when Obamacare got passed, massive amounts of people came into Samaritan. And so the pool got bigger. Because the way it works is every month we put our money into the pool as a community. And then Samaritan says, all right, we got this pool of money. Who needs money? All right, Bob needs money. Susan needs money. James needs money. All right, this is how much money we got. So, all right, we're going to give you some money. We're going to give you some money. We're going to give you some money. And when the pool is big enough, everybody's needs gets taken care of. If the pool is too small, they have to prorate and give out a portion. So the bigger the pot, the better off you are. And I never switched because those Catholic pots were small. And I didn't want to, have that be an issue. We've had babies, surgeries, all kinds of issues. We've had gallbladders removed, broken bones. We have all kinds of things, all handled through Samaritan. I've had physical therapy and all the rest. So I would encourage you to check it out. But anyway, we're out of time.
Great.
Steve, you're on Samaritan, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm on Samaritan. It works great.
Works great. Yeah, except our Save to Share was $700 this month. That's been the highest it's ever been, I think. Kind of crazy.
Well, think about it. If you rate regular insurance with a lot of kids, that's good. That's a discount.
Oh, yeah, in comparison. But that's like saying you got to vote for him because he's better than the other side. I know he's better than the other side, but it's high. It's just expensive. Anyway, Steve, thanks for your time today. Praise be to God. Grateful for you and weighing in on Trump Wave 2.0, the great meltdown of 2024. Rachel Maddow was screaming still. She hasn't stopped for 4 hours. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning for another round of ACT. Share us with a friend. God love you and God bless you.